People think winning the lottery is a dream. For me, it was the beginning of a nightmare. My name is Olivia Carter, and the moment I saw those numbers match, my hands didn't shake, but my heart did. I didn't tell anyone, not my friends, not my boss, not even my family. I thought silence would protect me. I was wrong. Because monsters don't hide under your bed, they sit at your dinner table, smiling like family. One of them was my uncle. The same man who hugged me when my parents died, the same man who called me his little Liv. When he found out I had the winning ticket, he didn't just ask for money. He demanded half like it was his right. That's when I stopped being Olivia, the scared girl with quiet dreams. That's when I became something else, something he never expected. But let me take you to where it all started. I was working late at a 24-hour coffee shop in downtown Austin. It was a slow Wednesday night, barely any customers. I remember because my feet were killing me from a double shift, and I was angry at myself for forgetting to pack lunch. My manager had just yelled at me for missing a spot on the counter, and I was holding back tears. Then one of the regulars, a kind old man named Mr. Price, walked in and handed me a lottery ticket as a tip. I laughed, thinking it was a joke, and he said, "Might change your life more than $1 ever will." I thanked him, slipped it into my apron pocket, and forgot about it for the rest of the shift. That night, when I finally reached home, an old, stuffy apartment with creaky floors and loud neighbors, I tossed my clothes on the floor and remembered the ticket. I scratched it lazily while brushing my teeth, ready to throw it away. But then I saw the numbers, all of them, matching perfectly. My toothbrush fell from my mouth. I stared at the card. I blinked. I checked the back. Then I Googled the draw number. The website didn't lie. I had just won $23 million. I sat on the floor for 10 minutes, staring at my reflection in the bathroom mirror. No one prepares you for that moment. It's like being hit by lightning. You're alive, but everything inside you is shaking. The first thing I felt wasn't joy, it was fear. I didn't know why yet. I just knew I couldn't tell anyone. I hid the ticket in the back of a shoe box under old photos and postcards. For the next 3 days, I went to work like normal. I pretended everything was fine. I smiled at customers, cleaned tables, and nodded along while coworkers talked about weekend plans. But inside, I was burning. Every minute felt like I was hiding a bomb under my shirt, and it didn't take long for someone to smell smoke. On the 4th day, my Uncle Jack came to visit. He rarely ever did, said he was just in the neighborhood. I found that strange, since he lived 3 cities away and never showed up without calling first. He hugged me too tightly, looked around my apartment too carefully. "You been okay, Liv?" he asked, eyes scanning the living room like he was searching for something. I told him I was fine. Tired, working a lot. He smiled and nodded, but I saw something behind his eyes. He was calculating. That night, I caught him looking through my kitchen drawers when he thought I was in the bathroom. He said he was looking for a spoon. There were spoons on the counter. Something wasn't right. I didn't sleep at all. I kept the ticket tucked inside my pillowcase and checked on it every hour. The next morning, I decided to test the waters. I casually brought up the lottery on the TV. "Can you believe someone in Austin won $23 million?" I said while sipping coffee. Uncle Jack didn't look surprised. In fact, he didn't even blink. "Yeah," he said slowly. "Crazy, huh? Wonder what kind of person got that lucky." That's when my stomach dropped. He knew. I didn't know how, but he knew. And that terrified me. I started being more careful. I bought a small lockbox from a thrift store, kept the ticket inside, and hid the box under the loose floorboard near my bed. I changed my phone password. I cleared my search history. I stopped talking about money at work. But no matter what I did, my uncle kept showing up. He brought food, helped clean, and kept calling me kiddo like he used to when I was little. It would have felt sweet if I didn't see right through him. One night he showed up with a bottle of wine and said we should celebrate life. I didn't touch my glass. I pretended to drink. He drank enough for both of us, and somewhere between his 3rd and 4th glass he said it. "You know, Liv," he slurred, "family shares everything. If one of us wins, we both win. That's how it should be." I stayed silent. I just stared at him. That's when he leaned closer and said, "I know it was you. I saw the ticket. You owe me." My blood froze. My skin turned to ice. I knew this man. He once changed my diapers. He once took me to school when Mom and Dad were gone. But now his eyes didn't look kind. They looked hungry, like a wolf who finally caught the scent of blood. That night, after he passed out on my couch, I made a decision. I was done playing scared. If he wanted to play dirty, I'd play smarter. But before I go into what I did next, I want you to do something for me. If you're watching this and you're still with me, take a second to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and most importantly, comment down below the city you're watching from. I want to see just how far my story goes. After that night, something inside me changed forever. I wasn't just Olivia Carter, the tired girl with quiet dreams anymore. I was someone who had something to protect, something worth fighting for, and someone to fight against. I didn't cry when I locked my bedroom door that night, even though I could still hear Uncle Jack snoring on the couch like he didn't just threaten my life in his own twisted way. Instead, I stayed awake, staring at the ceiling, running every memory of him through my mind like scenes from an old movie. The man who used to carry me on his shoulders now looked at me like I was a bag of cash he wanted to cut open. I wasn't going to let him win, so I did what I've always done best, kept my mouth shut and started planning. The first thing I needed was evidence. If things ever went legal, or worse, I had to make sure I wasn't just another scared girl making claims no one could prove. I went online and ordered a cheap mini spy camera disguised as a charger. I paid in cash. I also bought a second phone from a pawn shop, no name attached, and kept it off unless I needed it. The next few days, I acted normal. I smiled at Uncle Jack. I let him cook dinner. I even let him borrow my laptop, which I wiped clean beforehand. He didn't know I had placed the camera in my living room, pointing right at the couch where he always sat. He didn't know I had already hidden the real lottery ticket inside a sealed plastic bag, buried under the soil of a potted plant that hadn't been watered in weeks. That ticket was safer than gold, and I wasn't taking any chances. One evening, while pretending to fold laundry, I asked him a simple question. Uncle Jack, if someone wins the lottery, do you think they owe anything to their family? He looked up from his phone slowly, smiled like a snake, and said, of course, especially if the family took care of them. It's only right. That confirmed it. He was trying to manipulate me. He wanted me to feel guilty, to see him as a father figure I owed something to. But I didn't owe him a damn thing. He hadn't helped me in years. He vanished after my parents died, only showed up at Christmas, sometimes drunk, sometimes broke, always with a story and an empty wallet. Now suddenly he was playing house like he cared. I recorded that conversation on the spy cam, clear as day. Then came the real move. I remembered Mr. Price, words, might change your life more than $1 ever will. That line stayed with me. I wanted to change my life, but on my terms. So I came up with a plan that would give Uncle Jack exactly what he wanted, but not how he wanted it. I spent the next night making a fake lottery ticket. I printed out a blank scratch-off template I found online, carefully designed it to look like the real one, and used clear tape and silver nail polish to fake the scratch area. It looked good. Too good. Even I had to double-check to make sure it wasn't real. Then I made a copy of the real one and kept it somewhere safe as backup. I placed the fake one inside the lockbox, left it slightly open, and waited. Sure enough, the next day, while I pretended to nap, I heard footsteps creaking toward my room. I left my bedroom door half-closed on purpose, and I could see his shadow in the hallway. He stepped inside. I kept my breathing slow, steady, pretending to be asleep. I heard the soft click of the box lid. Silence. Then footsteps backing out. I waited another 10 minutes before getting up and checking. The fake ticket was gone. The trap was set. The next morning, he acted like nothing happened. He made eggs. He whistled. He even kissed my forehead. It made my stomach turn. Later that afternoon, he left without a word. I knew where he was going. I had already checked the location of the lottery claim office and set up a little surprise. I called them anonymously and said someone might show up with a forged ticket, described it in detail, and asked them to confirm its number with the original. I even sent a picture from a burner email account. They didn't ask for my name. They were too focused on the possibility of fraud. I knew they'd stop him, but I didn't stop there. I followed him. I wore a hoodie, sunglasses, kept my distance, and recorded everything from my second phone. He walked in confidently, holding the fake ticket like it was his golden pass to a better life. He had no idea what was coming. I stood across the street, hidden behind a phone booth, heart pounding but hands steady. 15 minutes later, he came out, face red, eyes wide, yelling into his phone. He looked like a man who'd just been slapped by God. He threw the ticket on the ground, cursed loud enough for people to hear, and stormed off. I caught all of it on video, every second. I wanted to laugh, but I didn't. Not yet. I waited until he left town. 2 days passed. No call, no message. Then I uploaded the video anonymously to a channel I had created a month ago under a fake name. I titled it, Man Tries to Steal Lottery Ticket from Niece and Fails. It exploded overnight. Thousands of views. Comments pouring in, people angry, people laughing, some even guessed the city. It was perfect. The video made its way to his workplace, his neighbors, and his friends. He didn't just lose his plan, he lost his reputation. But me, I didn't reveal my identity. Not yet. I watched it all from my apartment, curtains drawn, ticket still safe in the dirt of a dying plant. And you know what? For the first time since that scratch-off, I slept. Deeply, peacefully. But this wasn't the end. This was only the beginning of something bigger. Because now I had money and 100 new problems waiting to find me. You'd think that after exposing Uncle Jack, everything would go back to normal, right? That I could finally cash in my real lottery ticket, take the money, and start over somewhere far away, somewhere quiet. But no, that's not what happened. When you touch that kind of money, it's like blood in the water, people smell it. Even if you hide, even if you're careful, it finds a way to leak out. The video went viral. Not just viral in a funny meme way, but viral like people recognized my living room from the reflection in the glass door behind Uncle Jack. I made one small mistake in the background, and suddenly, strangers online were trying to figure out who I was. I didn't comment, I didn't confirm anything, but my inbox on my fake account was flooded with people guessing names, neighborhoods, even job titles. Some of them were scarily accurate. One message just said, "Olivia Carter, found you." My heart dropped. I shut everything down immediately. Deleted the account, wiped the burner phone, disconnected the internet. But the damage was already done. That night I got a knock on my door. I didn't answer. I peeked through the peephole and saw a man in a gray hoodie looking straight at the camera. No smile, no movement. He just stood there for 5 minutes, then left. I didn't sleep again. I packed a bag with only essentials: birth certificate, cash, backup phone, ticket, some clothes. I took the real ticket out of the plant pot and tucked it into a small pouch under my shirt. I had to go. But where? I couldn't go to a bank or claim the money in Austin. If I did, my name would go public and the vultures would circle in minutes. I needed to be smart. So I left at 4 a.m., took a bus out of town under a fake name. I didn't even tell my closest friend, Rachel, where I was going. I figured the less she knew, the safer she'd be. I headed toward a small town I remembered visiting once as a kid with my parents. Quiet, forested, nothing flashy. It was the kind of place where people still wave at each other on the street, and no one asks too many questions. I found a cheap motel and paid cash for a week. The walls were thin, and the bed creaked, but it was safe. Safer than home. For now. I spent those days watching the news and online forums, seeing if anyone was still talking about the video. Luckily, the internet has a short memory. A new scandal had pushed my story down the feed, but something still bothered me. Uncle Jack hadn't contacted me, not once. No angry call, no apology, nothing. I thought maybe he was too ashamed or maybe too scared. But something about that silence felt wrong. I had burned him, humiliated him in front of the world, and he just disappeared. That wasn't like him. He always needed the last word. Always. Then on the 6th night in that motel, I heard something outside my window. It was 2 a.m. at least. At first, I thought it was the wind, branches tapping the glass. But then I heard it again, a click, like metal against glass. I froze. I turned off the lights and crouched near the window, peeking just enough to see the parking lot. I couldn't see anyone. I waited. Nothing. After 10 minutes, I told myself I was just paranoid, tired, maybe jumpy from the stress. I went to bed fully clothed, shoes on, with my bag next to me. The next morning, I found scratches on the outside of the window frame, like someone had tried to pry it open. My stomach twisted. I went to the front desk and asked if anyone had checked in overnight. The old woman barely looked up. "Nope," she said. "No new guests since Thursday." That was 2 days ago. I asked if they had cameras. She said no. Great. I had to move again. Before I left, I checked the motel's guest log when no one was looking. The last signature. Jack L. That wasn't a coincidence. He had found me. I didn't understand how, but he had. I left immediately. Took a cab to a rental car place, used fake ID from a friend I once helped out with a favor. Drove 200 miles west, no stops. I didn't even eat until I was an hour outside the next state. By now, my nerves were stretched like wires ready to snap. I couldn't keep running. I had to take control, so I found a lawyer, not in a big office or anything, just a small-town guy who handled real estate and wills. I walked into his office wearing a hat and glasses and said I wanted to claim a lottery ticket anonymously. He looked surprised but interested. I told him I'd pay cash up front just for advice. He asked if it was legit. I said yes. I showed him the ticket. His eyes widened. "You really scratched this?" he asked. I nodded. "And you haven't turned it in yet?" "Not yet," I said. He told me that in some states you could claim winnings through a trust or LLC to stay anonymous, but it was tricky. In Texas, not so easy. Your name usually goes public. That's when I told him everything. Not every tiny detail, but enough. About the fake ticket, the video, my uncle, the threats, the scratches on my window. His face went serious. "You're in danger," he said. "You need protection. You need to secure that ticket legally before someone else tries to take it from you." We made a plan. He would help me create a trust and claim the money quietly, but safely. He even knew someone who worked at the claim office and could set up a secure appointment. But it would take time, paperwork, legal steps, at least a week. Until then, he told me to hide somewhere no one could find me. He even offered me a spare cabin he owned out near the lake, said no one used it anymore. I didn't trust easily, but something about him felt real. Maybe because he didn't ask for a cut, just his hourly rate. I took the offer. The cabin was small, cold, dusty, but peaceful. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. I spent those nights looking over my shoulder, double-checking locks and keeping my phone off. I watched old movies, read books I found in the dusty shelf, and wrote everything in a journal in case anything happened to me. But nothing did. Not for 6 days. Then, just when I started to feel safe again, a letter arrived. No name, no stamp, just slid under the door. I opened it with shaking hands. The paper said only 4 words. "This isn't over yet." I stared at that letter for what felt like hours. 4 words, just 4 simple words. "This isn't over yet." My heart thudded in my chest like a war drum. I kept looking around the small cabin, checking windows, doors, every corner, even the attic hatch above the bathroom. There was nothing, no sign of anyone. But the fact that someone had come close enough to slide that letter under the door without making a sound was enough to shake me to the core. I picked it up again, checked the handwriting. Sharp, angry strokes. No signature. No fingerprints either. I checked using a tissue, afraid to touch it with my bare hands. My first thought, Jack, who else could it be? But how had he found me again? I hadn't used my real name in weeks. I'd changed towns twice, and I was staying in a place that wasn't even in my name. I hadn't posted anything online, hadn't even used my main phone. Still, somehow, he was always one step behind me. I couldn't run anymore. I had to end this. So I called the lawyer, Mr. Hayes, using the secure number he gave me. My voice was shaking, but I told him about the letter. He told me to calm down and meet him in his office first thing in the morning. He'd bring someone from the local sheriff's office who could help. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the floor with a flashlight and a kitchen knife in my lap, just watching the door. Every time a tree branch brushed against the roof, my heart jumped. By the time the sun came up, I looked like a zombie. But I still packed my bag, hid the ticket in a new spot, inside a hollowed-out book, and drove to town. Mr. Hayes was waiting outside his office, sipping coffee, wearing the same brown coat he always did. Inside, he introduced me to a man named Sheriff Rowe. Big guy, calm voice, eyes like he'd seen everything. I told them the whole story again, showed them the letter, and even gave them the location of the last motel I stayed at, including the guest log showing Jack L. Sheriff Rowe nodded through all of it, then said something that made me go cold. "Jack L. used a fake ID," he said. "We traced the handwriting on the motel log and confirmed it. He's been using aliases, staying off-grid. This guy knows what he's doing." I felt like vomiting. This wasn't just a greedy uncle anymore. This was a man with a plan. A man willing to stalk, lie, and maybe worse, all for a shot at my money. Mr. Hayes suggested I stay in a safer place for a few more days while the paperwork finalized. Sheriff Rowe said he'd post a cruiser near the cabin just in case, but he couldn't assign protection without a direct threat. I showed him the letter again. "This is a threat," I said. "Not enough," he replied. "Creepy, yes, illegal, not yet." That's when I realized the system wasn't built for people like me, alone, without power, without a name. It protected the loud ones, the rich ones, the dangerous ones. I was just a girl with a ticket and a target on my back. But I wasn't going to sit and wait anymore. After leaving the office, I drove to a tech store and bought 2 things, a hidden GPS tracker and a motion sensor camera. I returned to the cabin and planted the camera facing the only road leading in. I placed the GPS in my car, connected it to an app on my backup phone. Then I drove 10 miles to a library and waited in the parking lot, watching the live feed from my hidden camera. Hours passed. Nothing. I kept refreshing, switching between camera view and GPS. Around midnight, just as I was about to give up, I saw it headlights. A single car creeping toward the cabin. I couldn't make out the license plate, but the silhouette looked familiar. It parked about 20 feet from the door. The driver didn't get out. Just sat there, engine off, lights dimmed. I held my breath. After 10 minutes, the car reversed slowly and vanished into the woods. I took screenshots, video, everything. Now I had proof. I forwarded it all to Mr. Hayes and Sheriff Rowe. Hayes said he'd push the paperwork faster, try to claim the money through the trust within 48 hours. I felt like I was on a countdown. 2 more days, just 2 more. That night, I didn't return to the cabin. I slept in the car, parked behind an old gas station, engine off, windows cracked just enough. It was uncomfortable, cold, and terrifying, but I felt safer than in a building someone had already reached. I thought about my parents a lot that night, wondered what they'd think of all this. My mom used to say I was quiet but clever. My dad called me Little Owl because I was always watching. I didn't cry, but I missed them more than ever. The next morning, Mr. Hayes called. "We're ready," he said. "Bring the ticket, don't stop anywhere, don't talk to anyone, we're claiming today." I drove straight to the office, never going above the speed limit, checking my mirrors every 2 seconds. When I arrived, he had everything set. Papers, IDs, a contact at the lottery office already expecting us under the trust's name, the Cedar Oak Fund. Clean, anonymous, legal, we walked in together. I handed over the ticket, watched as they verified it, scanned it, smiled. "Congratulations," the lady said. "That's one lucky scratch." I didn't even blink, I just nodded. The process took 3 hours. At the end, they handed me documents showing the funds would be deposited into the trust's account within 5 business days. No name would be made public. No photo taken, I was safe. At least that's what I thought. That night I returned to the cabin just one last time to pack my things. I had already planned to move again, this time out of state, maybe the coast, maybe north, somewhere fresh. But when I got back, something felt off. The door was unlocked. My stomach dropped. I knew I locked it. I always double-checked. I stepped inside slowly. Quiet, careful, everything looked normal until I saw the kitchen. A knife was stuck in the table. My name carved into the wood underneath it. Olivia. That's it, just my name, not a message, not a threat, just proof that he had been there, that he had touched my space, that he knew where I was all along. I didn't scream. I didn't panic. I picked up my bag and walked right out. I drove away without looking back. I didn't tell Mr. Hayes. Didn't call the sheriff. What could they do? He hadn't hurt me, not physically. But that was the thing, he didn't need to. His silence was the weapon. His presence was the attack. He was telling me, "I see you, I'll always see you." But what he didn't know, what he couldn't know, was that this story wasn't going to end the way he thought. I wasn't the scared girl anymore. I wasn't running. I was just getting started. After I left the cabin for the last time, I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I didn't feel weak. I felt focused, sharper than I'd ever been in my life. It was like something inside me had flipped, like all the fear had burned itself out and left behind nothing but clarity. I had survived betrayal, stalking, fake family love, threats, and almost losing everything. But I didn't lose. I still had the money. I still had my life. Now I needed to protect both, so I disappeared. Not like before, running town to town in panic. No, this time I erased myself. I started by ditching everything from my past life. I sold the car under a fake name. I shredded my old IDs. I dyed my hair 2 shades darker, cut it short, and bought new clothes in sizes slightly too big just to throw off my appearance. I moved to a city I had never visited before, Portland, Oregon. Big enough to blend in, quiet enough to avoid attention. I found a small 1-bedroom apartment using the name tied to my trust, the Cedar Oak Fund, and paid 6 months rent in advance. No background checks when you pay in full. The landlord didn't ask questions. He barely looked at me. That's how I knew I was in the right place. Once I settled in, I created a new identity for daily life. Olivia Carter was gone. I became Avery Quinn. It was just a name, but somehow it felt right, like I was shedding skin. I opened a bank account through the trust, got a debit card linked to it, and used it only for essentials. I paid cash for everything else. I kept my phone in airplane mode most of the time and used public Wi-Fi only through VPNs. Every move I made was thought out, planned, layered in silence. And for a while, it worked. No one found me. No strange knocks on the door. No letters under the mat. No carved names in tables. It was like I had finally become invisible. And being invisible felt like breathing fresh air. But something strange happens when the adrenaline fades. You start to remember, to feel, to process what you've been through. I thought I was okay. I told myself I had one. But one night, sitting on the floor of my new apartment, eating cold noodles from a paper box, I broke. I started crying, silent, hard tears that wouldn't stop. I cried for the girl I used to be, for the moments I used to trust people without second-guessing. For the life I had before money poisoned everything. I cried for my parents. For the way Uncle Jack used their memory to try and guilt me. I cried for how close I came to losing everything. That breakdown only lasted a night, but it changed me. After that, I promised myself one thing: I would never, ever let someone have that kind of power over me again. The next morning, I made a list, not a to-do list, a survival list. Step 1, train. I joined a local gym under a fake name, paid cash, and started learning self-defense. Krav Maga, boxing, even basic weapons training with a private instructor I found through a contact on a dark web forum. He didn't care who I was. He just cared that I paid in full on time. Step 2, track him. If Jack could find me, I had to know where he was too. I used some of the money to hire a private investigator, someone out of state, someone who worked in silence. I told her only the necessary parts, sent her an old photo of Jack, and gave her his last known aliases. She took the job, said it might take weeks, maybe months. I told her I could wait. In the meantime, I kept training. I transformed. The quiet, cautious Olivia who hid behind curtains and checked locks 3 times before sleeping. She was gone. Avery Quinn didn't flinch. Avery walked with her chin up, keys between her knuckles, eyes on every exit, and cameras on every wall of her apartment. And then one morning I got the call. It was the Pie. Her voice was calm, but the words hit me like a brick to the chest. "We found him," she said. "He's in Reno, using the name James Lowell. Got a job under the table at a construction site. Looks like he's been living in a cheap motel for the last few weeks." I asked, "Has he tried to find me again?" She said, "Doesn't look like it, but he's definitely watching someone. We followed him last night. He was sitting outside a house for hours, didn't go in, just watched." I asked, "Whose house?" She paused, then said, "Rachel." My blood turned to ice. Rachel, my old friend. The only person I had ever really trusted. The one I never told where I was going. Somehow he had found her asterisk. And now he was watching her, probably thinking she knew where I was. I had to do something. Fast. I thanked the Pie, wired her a bonus, and told her to keep eyes on him 24/7. Then I made the hardest call I made in a long time. I used a burner phone to call Rachel. She picked up on the 3rd ring. "Hello." Her voice almost made me cry. I said, "Ratch, it's me, Olivia." Silence. Then a shocked whisper. "Liv, oh my God, where are you? Are you okay? What's happening?" I told her not to panic, not to say my name again, and just listen. I explained everything fast, clear, and without emotion. She was crying by the time I finished. "He's been around here," she whispered. "I thought I saw him at the grocery store, but I wasn't sure." I told her to pack a bag and leave town for a few days. I gave her a contact who would set her up in a safe place. She trusted me enough to do it without asking questions. That's how I knew she was a real one. The Pie kept tracking Jack. For 3 days, he stayed in Reno. Then he vanished. No checkout. No witness, just gone. I felt the fear creep back in, but this time I was ready. I had cameras, alerts, backup plans. I didn't hide. I waited. 3 weeks passed. Then 4. Nothing. 1 month later, I found something taped to my apartment door. A photo of me. Taken from behind while I was at the grocery store. No message, no threat, just the photo, just like the knife in the table. He was letting me know, "I still see you." That's when I knew this wouldn't end on its own. I had money, power, tools, but he had obsession. He wasn't going to stop until he got what he thought he was owed. He wanted half. He wanted control. He wanted me broken, begging, and I was done waiting. I stared at the photo taped to my door for a long time. It was clear, sharp, and recent, taken just 2 aisles behind me at the grocery store where I usually went for fruit and instant noodles. I could even see what I was wearing that day, my dark green hoodie, my favorite old jeans. My hair was tied up. My guard was down. That picture hit me harder than any threat could have. It meant he was close. It meant he was watching. It meant every locked door, every burner phone, every disguise, every change of city. It still hadn't been enough. Jack was still out there, still obsessed, still playing his sick little game. And that's when I decided I was done running. I wasn't going to live like a hunted animal anymore. I wasn't just going to hide, react, and hope it passed. No. This time I was going to trap him. And not just trap him, destroy him, publicly, legally, and completely. I called Mr. Hayes again. This time I didn't ask for protection, I asked for power. I told him I needed to draw my uncle in, make him reveal himself, and catch him in a way that even the police couldn't ignore. Mr. Hayes was nervous. He kept asking, "Are you sure you want to go down this road?" I said yes, because this wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about freedom, mine, Rachel's, anyone else Jack might hurt in the future. So here's what we did. I reopened the YouTube channel where the original fake ticket video had gone viral. I rebranded it under a new name, ***, girl who beat the game ***, and uploaded a short dramatic video with voiceover, not mine, and text saying, "Lottery girl is back, and this time she's ready to reveal everything. The full story drops in 3 days, live." Within hours, the comments exploded. People were still curious, still hungry. The story hadn't gone away, it had just been sleeping. That's the thing about the internet, it never forgets. I created a live stream link, scheduled it for Saturday at 8 p.m. I posted teasers across private forums, lottery gossip boards, Reddit, and YouTube. I even made it look like a documentary trailer with blurry footage of Uncle Jack trying to cash the fake ticket. But I saved the best part for last. At the end of the teaser, a deep voice said, "He wanted half. She gave him nothing." What if she gave him one last chance? The comments lit up. Is she gonna confront him? Did he come back? What happened to the uncle? That's exactly what I wanted. I knew Jack still watched. I knew he still followed everything. He was obsessed with control, obsessed with attention, and the idea that the world was talking about him again, without his asterisk voice in the mix, that would make him act. And it did. The day before the live stream, I got an email from a brand new address. No name, no subject line, just one sentence, "Meet me one last time." I didn't respond, I didn't have to. That same night, I saw movement on my outdoor security camera, a shadow, a figure, standing just outside the range of the streetlight facing my apartment building. He didn't move for over 10 minutes. Then he walked away. It was him, I knew it, I felt it. But now he had taken the bait. The trap was set. Next morning, I packed a small bag, locked up everything, and headed to the warehouse. Yeah, a warehouse. Let me explain. Through Mr. Hayes' contacts, I rented an old event space just outside the city limits. No neighbors, no cameras, no noise complaints. Inside, I set up a fake podcast studio with mics, cameras, and lights. All fake, all just for show. In the middle of the room, a table with 2 chairs. Across from it, a folder labeled *50% deal. Underneath it, a hidden camera and voice recorder, both set to stream live directly to YouTube the moment I pressed a button on my watch. I also asked Sheriff Rowe, remember him, to be close by. I didn't tell him everything, I just said, "I might have a situation that needs an immediate response. Be near." He agreed. He owed me after how many times they failed to act before. The live stream went live at 7:50 p.m. People started joining. Hundreds, then thousands. Comments flying by. But there was nothing to see, just a chair, a table, a folder. At 8:03 p.m., the warehouse door creaked open. I was already sitting in the chair, hoodie up, face low. He stepped in, Uncle Jack, older, rougher, but still carrying that same smug expression. He looked around and said, "Didn't think you'd actually do it." I said nothing, just gestured for him to sit. He pulled the chair, sat down across from me, and grinned. "So, finally ready to be smart, huh? Ready to give me what I deserve." That word, deserve, made my blood boil, but I kept calm. I looked him dead in the eyes and said, "This is your chance, you get to explain everything on camera." His smile twitched. "Camera," I pointed up. "You're being recorded, live-streamed actually, thousands watching." He froze, not fully, but just enough for me to see the panic flicker in his eyes. He looked toward the corner, saw the light blinking. Too late, he was in. "You set me up," he said, his voice colder. I nodded. "You set yourself up the moment you followed me, the moment you stalked my friend, the moment you left that knife in the table. You wanted attention, now you have it." He leaned forward. "Do you really think this makes you safe? I can make you disappear before they even believe you." I smiled for the first time. "Already did, that folder in front of you, it's everything, police reports, video proof, GPS tracking, signed statements. And a restraining order that goes live the moment you touch that folder. It's already been filed." He reached for it. The moment his hand touched the paper, I pressed the button on my watch. Red lights outside flashed, sirens, the warehouse door slammed open. Sheriff Rowe and 2 officers entered, guns drawn. Jack jumped up, yelling, "She's lying, she's manipulating the whole thing, that ticket was mine, she stole it." But no one listened to him. They tackled him, cuffed him, and pulled him out screaming. His voice echoed down the hallway as he shouted, "UOME, I made you, this isn't over." But this time I didn't flinch, I just watched. Silent, still, free. The live stream ended right as they dragged him away. The final image, me lifting my head, hoodie falling back, and finally showing the world my face. The real one, the strong one, the one he couldn't break. After they dragged Jack out of that warehouse, the silence that followed wasn't just silence, it was peace. I sat there for a few minutes unmoving, just listening to nothing. No footsteps behind me. No shadows outside the window, no late-night knocks or knife marks, just stillness. I didn't cry. I didn't smile either. I just breathed. For the first time in what felt like years, I really breathed. That night when I got back to my apartment, my inbox was flooded. The live stream had gone viral again. News outlets picked it up. Lottery girl outsmarts uncle in live sting. Man arrested in viral fake ticket scandal. She fought back and won. Part of me felt proud. Not because I was trending, not because strangers were cheering me on, but because I finally took back my life without losing who I was. But a deeper part of me was exhausted. You don't realize how heavy survival becomes until you finally set it down. I slept for 16 hours that night. Deep, dreamless sleep. When I woke up, the world was different, not just outside, but inside me. There was no plan waiting, no next move, no threats or games or traps. I made coffee, opened the window, and sat in the sun. That was it. That was the victory. Jack didn't get released. The evidence we gathered was airtight: harassment, stalking, violation of protective orders, and attempted fraud. He was sentenced to 5 years. Not as much as I wanted, but enough. Enough for the world to know the truth. Enough for him to realize he lost. Mr. Hayes helped me push forward a civil case, too. Jack had tried to claim a portion of the lottery winnings through a private lawsuit a while back, but after the live stream, the case was thrown out with prejudice. He could never file it again. Ever. I won. Not just legally, but publicly. The same crowd that once speculated if I faked the whole thing was now defending me in comment sections and tagging news stations demanding justice. The internet had turned in my favor, but I didn't stick around for applause. A week later, I closed the YouTube channel. I deleted every video, every post, every comment. That chapter was over. I didn't want to be a symbol. I didn't want to be lottery girl anymore. I just wanted to be me. A few months passed. Quiet, calm months. I visited Rachel. She had moved to Seattle, found a new job, and was doing well. We hugged for a long time. No words, just love. She was one of the only people who stuck by me when it was dangerous. I'll never forget that. As for me, I took a road trip alone, free, with no destination. Just open roads, empty gas stations, and long sunsets. I drove through deserts and forests, past oceans and cities. I stopped in small towns where no one knew my name. I ate in diners where the waitress called me hun and refilled my coffee without asking. It felt like healing. Somewhere along the coast, I found a little cottage for rent. Nothing fancy, just a porch, 2 chairs, and the sound of waves. I bought it in cash, no debt, no paperwork tied to the old me. That's where I live now. I go by Avery Quinn. I read a lot. I garden. I write sometimes, mostly letters I never send. I still have the money, most of it untouched. But I don't chase expensive things. I know now that freedom is the most valuable thing you can buy, and even then, only if you're smart enough to protect it. People still try to reach me sometimes. Journalists, TV producers, podcast hosts. They want my story, my face, my voice. But the thing is, they already got it. That live stream. That was the final chapter. Everything since then has been recovery. And I don't owe that to anyone. You know, it's funny. When I was younger, I used to think winning the lottery would fix everything. That money would make life easy. But the truth is, it just shows you who people really are. The greedy, the fake, the dangerous, and the rare few who love you anyway. If you're listening to this, watching this, or reading this somewhere, just remember, protect your peace harder than you protect your money. Because money comes and goes. Peace doesn't. One last thing. I kept the original fake ticket, the one I handed Jack that day, thinking it would end the madness. I found it stuffed in an old backpack recently while cleaning. It was crumpled, faded, worthless. But I smiled when I saw it. Not because of the trick, but because of the girl who came up with it. She was scared, desperate, alone, but she was also smart, brave, and now she's free. I'm glad to have you here. Follow my story until the end, and comment the city you're watching from, so I can see how far my story has reached.